was young boy, I used to push my bicycle up to road here to deliver bread to mental asylum just round the corner. But now I'm up here to play with toy cars because today is Touring Championships for the BRCA, round 3. See you there.
Yes, thanks Nick. Back to the 21st century, the 16th and 17th of July 2011 to be precise, and Halifax is perhaps feeling the effects of global warming.
You need to control the car around this very tiny circuit now.
Time for a pit walk here in Halifax, where as you can see I'm being rained on even more persistently than I was before. Now, the big question is, we walk around looking for people we can talk to. Here's who we can talk to straight away. Chris, this is lovely weather. It's dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet. I mean, what sort of challenges does that present for you?
It is an absolute nightmare. We've got the dry cars ready, the wet cars ready.
You never know. I mean, it can rain at any time.
My car's not been great in the wet.
Preparing wet tyres, preparing dry tyres.
I prefer when it's dry, to be honest.
Trying to work out which batteries you want to be charging.
I prefer all dry.
Which ones want to be ready.
It just started raining just before our last practice.
Making sure you pick the right body shell up.
At the end of the day, it's just different.
The right settings on your transmitter.
I hope it dries up a little bit.
It's just a nightmare. I wish it would be either one or the other.
I'm not really too fussed either way.
But can you tell visually the break point between wet and dry, or you just, I'll just guess this time?
Probably the hardest track in the world to do that, because it's special tarmac. It just eats the water, so it doesn't matter how much it rains, it doesn't look any wetter than it does. It doesn't seem to get any wetter. It always looks just the same colour basically. How do you decide, am I going to have a slick tyre or am I going to have a treaded tyre? What's the crossover point?
That's even more difficult here, because for some reason yesterday, the first round of qualifying, it was actually still damp to the touch, but the slick tyre, even with additive, was faster.
Matt, I'm just going to show you this because I'm going to borrow 2 tyres. There we have a slick and a wet. Now, the thing is, as we saw at the Cotswolds, these babies work really, really well when it's wet, and these sort of West London work really well when it's dry, and I can juggle. Unfortunately, when it's like this, in between, they both don't work, do they, Joe?
No, nothing works. Especially this track with the amount of oil on it from gas cars makes the track really, really greasy. So
that's a good point, of course. This Halifax track actually is the home of IC racing, so you've actually got oil and goo and gunk on here, which as he comes up, it seeps out and makes the grip even less likely to work. Now, who else can I pounce on for a quick comment? I don't know. We're going to talk to commentator Chris. Do you pity the drivers having to choose what tyres to run and what is basically, could you say, he knows from minute to minute?
I think it keeps them honest. It really keeps the interest going. The FTD, the fastest times yesterday in qualifying was around about 19 laps. We're on 12 and 13 now, so a massive, massive difference.
There we go, the reigning British champion, someone I walked into randomly, and Chris also says it's impossible to tell. But coming up later in the show, you'll find out who has qualified on pole for both modified and 10.5.
Lunchtime and a great opportunity to sample some of Yorkshire's traditional delicacies. But on the track, things are going increasingly slideways. Yeah, that's enough of that. Let's go over to Nick and meet the modified top qualifiers.
Johnny Air, the mixed conditions obviously played to your strengths.
Yeah, I think the round 4 it was that I TQ'd. It was a little bit damp, and I think I managed to get the best out of the conditions. A bit unlucky on the dry yesterday because I thought I was quite quick in those conditions too, but I had a bit of grip roll, which obviously didn't really help my cause. Yeah, but it's gone well.
You lead the championship at the moment after the Cotswolds rain off. Have you actually ever won the British Championship?
I have, yeah, but actually it was quite a long time ago.
1872, wasn't it? So, I mean, is this finally your year?
I don't know, I mean, there's still a long way to go. I didn't have a great West London, obviously Cotswolds was a lot better. Here it's looking good so far. we'll just have to see. There's another 2 rounds after this, so anything can happen. But I'm feeling confident. So
The dry car's really good. Dry car was really, really good yesterday. My wet car, yeah, it's a bit mixed to be honest. So I'd prefer it to dry out, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
And the rest of the names you can see there. 2 notable omissions. Elliot Harper struggling all weekend with his Tamiya 417 in these changeable conditions, and much the same for Chris Kurzweil. He's got a new Serpent car, great in the dry, but not very keen at the moment when it's damp. On the grid, Johnny Aird in the pink car, leading away from Andy Moore in the white car, and already, poor start by Matt White. Into third comes Ollie Jeffries on the Associated. And Ollie there, in the inside of Andy. Ollie mixing up, and as we can see already, there is just no level of grip. These damp conditions provide less grip, obviously in the dry, but actually even less grip than that torrential rain we saw at Cotswolds a few weeks ago. When they're that wet, the tyres work quite well, but in this damp condition, and it is damp, in fact, the entire day has been different amounts of them. We've had rain, we've had showers, we've had mizzle, but they come in these sharp corners, and it's just, you put the pad down, you've no idea what the tail's going to do. But these drivers are showing supreme talent. But out of interest, we see Ollie now coming towards Johnny Aird. He's looking to challenge for the lead. So it's Johnny from Ollie. Oh, what a superb move there by Andy Moore. Picks up the drive. That hot body's car seems to have better drive off the corner there. But we see other corners in the tight areas. Ollie Jeffries Associated is also going well. So it's an Associated hot body, Associated sandwich. And the interesting thing is that these different chassis are fast at different points. Ollie just gets drift, can't put the power down. And a really masterful piece of opportunism again from Andy. Quite similar actually what we saw at Cotswold when Ollie did the same thing to him in the pouring rain. And Ollie's still very close here in leg 1. Johnny Aird leading out in the pink car, the Associated. Tricky track. These wide open. Look at that. That's like Andros ice racing. That's amazing. They both came out wide. They fired it through. That's much. Look at this. This is drift stuff. D1 racing. Oh, that gets a 5.1 from the German judge there for Andy Moore, and perhaps a 4.9 from Ollie because he couldn't hold the position. But it's very, very close. Every corner is an adventure. You don't quite know how it's going to be. How much we get Andy there again. Lower and higher lines. Now, the thing about the Halifax track is that it runs normally nitro cars, so there's lots of oil on the circuit, which means that not necessarily, but like a real racing track, sometimes the fastest line in the wet is not where you think it would be in the dry. And now getting a tighter line. He's got past Johnny Aird, their superb move there. He just cut on the inside. Now, can he pull away? He's got this middle sprint, that hot body's car, it picks up and rolls, but initial off the corner, I think the Associated is better, but the hot body seems to flow once the speed's going, and yes, he's made that stick. So further down now, Brian Eldridge has made fantastic progress in the top racing car. Brian's come from 9th, I think he's now in 3rd there. He's got past, he's in 2nd. He got past Ollie. Johnny Aird has come off in there. And this is now Andy stroking it through for a national win. Remember, he won the last round almost by default when it was called off, but this is a national win in his first heat. He just needs to win another one. Easier said than done. And he will be the guy to take the overall win. Lining up here now for the second round, obviously same order again. Better start from Andy. Johnny gets away as well. Matt White managed to hold on to 3rd, and it's as you go. Ollie again looking quite feisty in there to get through. Matt White's done put the power down. Oh, and a mistake there from Andy. He's just sort of fishtail there, put the power down too much, got instant oversteer. And we've got Chris Granger in the mix there. So I think it's, yes, Johnny Aird's got away. We have Andy Moore in 2nd. Coming round behind him, it's Andy from Ollie Jeffries, and Chris Granger was bringing up there in 4th. Chris not really shown too well, the multi-British champion. There we see losing, and Brian Eldridge again. Brian in the unheralded top car, TOP that is, not saying he's top or anything else, but he's in fact there off camera he just got past Chris into 4th. Ollie and Andy now fight. It looks like Ollie's slightly better hooked up in this race. Now, whilst the track looks the same as it did in the previous heat, there are different amounts of rain. We had a bit of a rainstorm beforehand, and it's different levels of damp. That top corner, they are crawling round. In the dry, these cars would do 19 laps. In the wet, they are doing 12 and 13 in this damp condition. They are losing so many seconds. They can't get the power down. The time in the corner is monstrous. So this difference in ability to get in and off the corner, and that is, the missile hook. Brian there nearly got into 3rd place there. Ollie just backing it off, but in front it's Johnny Aird, Andy Moore in the hot bodies car. Andy really hasn't had much success in the UK recently. We were chatting to him. He's not won the national championship for about 7 years, but of course he's world champion, won the TITC as well. Now, a battle already here. This is Brian Eldridge trying to get past Ollie Jeffries. Brian in the top car really has fantastic speed. Ollie, great race car. I think there's a bit of a nibble there from Brian, and he goes round the outside. Ollie takes a bit of grass there, comes back in again. Oh, and he's tagged. It's hard to tell. In this weather, it is so difficult. The cars are sliding. That's a first tap there. This is a sequence, I think, of Brian getting past Ollie. That really is, again, I think, a lot of this, it looks quite nasty, but a lot of it is just because the cars are fast in different places. And coming back straight into Andy now, running on the outside of Johnny Ed. If he wins this heat, he will win the overall A final and take his second win of the season. He's pulled away, but of course we know these cars are fast. And look at that superb run up the inside from Johnny. But again, that middle power comes on from Andy. And the hot bodies car has its ability, once it's rolling, it's sliding through. This is like ice dance. This is more Torval and Dean than touring car. As they come round together, and again, it's in and out, different parts. There's different grip. I think Andy now made it a break away. He's got this bit part here. He's got a lovely bit of acceleration to the middle of the straight. And now towards the end of the race, Johnny has been closed down by Brian Eldridge. Brian really has, I don't know what it is. He had three. Oh, and Johnny makes the ultimate mistake. Too much power, loops the car, and Brian Eldridge comes through to second. So this could be 2 seconds for Brian to go with Andy's 2 wins. And Andy, in fact, now comes over the line to take the second A final, and therefore he has won the second round. Let's hear from the very happy winner of the event. Congratulations on another national championship A final win, this time on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's better to obviously win it this way, actually racing 2 finals and winning the 2 finals than what happened at Cotswolds, obviously. But a win's a win at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm really happy. Yep.
The secret seemed to be your car had superb traction once it was lined up. It was so much quicker. You had that acceleration that no one else had.
Yeah, it had a really good drive forward. I don't really know why, to be honest, because I mean, normally drive forward means that you have a lot of rear traction, but as you could see, sometimes you turn in and it wasn't always the most stable. But yeah, once you get into a groove, I got past Johnny eventually, and then it was just a case of me controlling my own pace and not doing anything too stupid.
So despite having won the meeting, Andy Moore lines up for the third leg. He says he's got lots to try in damp weather, and you don't get much chance to try these things in these difficult conditions. But Johnny Aird leads away from Andy. Clean start for both of them. Once again, Matt White's made a poor start from third. I think in third, actually, there's a red car, and I'm hearing, yeah, that's Chris Granger. Chris Granger has borrowed a body from his teammate John Pape in a rather fetching flat red, not the multicolour beauty we normally see from Chris, but Chris, I think he's also borrowed a setup because that car's going far better than it was. And so it's Johnny Aird from Andy Moore and from Chris Granger. Chris has got that Schumacher car really hooked up in Heat 3. Johnny in the associated, he's looked good. He did really well to pick up pole, but Andy appears to have really found something special with the hot bodies car in these finals. He's got this ability to just hooks up and goes from really, once it's lined up out of the corners, not great, but once it's rolling, he's got this superbly forward traction on the car. It's absolutely amazing. But this time, he's managed to get past Johnny Aird quite simply for the lead, but looks like Chris Granger could be the fastest car there. It's a simple, again, this hook up and go, the forward traction hot bodies in this particular setup and the particular conditions seems to have the advantage of Johnny Aird as Chris Granger now starts fighting with Johnny. So it's Schumacher v associated. The red car is the 5-time national champion Chris Granger, not really shown much this weekend, but whatever he's done between leg 2 and leg 3 has worked. He just tipped through. That was a beautiful manoeuvre there. He just picked his way through, and Johnny is still going really well, but he's going backwards compared to both Andy and Chris. Now I think that Chris indeed has caught up with Andy, so it's Andy Moore against Chris Granger, and Chris seems to have the ground speed at the moment. The car, if you can look, it's just nailed at the back. We've got Andy drifting, but Chris has got that Schumacher working fantastically now. Perhaps a leg too late, and then he's hooked it. That is such bad luck. He put one wheel on the grass. One wheel on the grass as we now join up with Brian Eldridge battling with Johnny Aird. Brian, of course, has 2 seconds. If he finishes with Johnny, he will get second overall. And as they come over the line, in fact, because Andy's won, it means that Brian can settle for third and pick up a magnificent second overall for top body. We saw in the background Chris Granger recovering. He'll be really ruining that particularly unlucky manoeuvre earlier in the race. So the overall results of the Halifax round of the BRCA Modified Championship: Andy Moore, perfect, 3 wins in 3 legs. Brian Eldridge takes a fantastic second from 9th on the grid for top. And then we have Johnny Aird, Chris Granger, Matt White, Ollie Jeffries, and the rest of the guys not quite so lucky. But I think all of them are heroes who got round in these very difficult conditions.
Coming up, the 10.5 Turn Championship. But first, let's take a look at Associated's Young Drivers Academy, a new initiative bringing a crop of new talent into the sport.
It was basically an idea that we thought up at the end of last year, where we take 4 young drivers and basically just look after them through a season. It gives them a chance to work with a big team, and also it's the future of our sport. Kyle, we sort of was in the team in a way already, so it was sort of like a no-brainer for him.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with being with the junior academy. It's like mixing with other youngsters, like good friendships, and we've like looked at the track, like see which if we should use wet car or dry car, like wet tyres on the dry car, whichever car we need to use. so I found it like a big help.
It's been difficult today because the track's not wet, it's dry and wet and greasy, so it's been hard choosing what tyres to run and what car to run. Being in the team has helped loads because you can find out those sort of things you wouldn't really think about if you weren't within a big team.
And then the other two, Ross and Ben, approached us.
So far I've become a lot more confident, and I'm really enjoying being in a team situation where people want to help me and I'm able to move forward a lot.
So prior to this disaster, though, you enjoying being part of the academy?
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. Like West London, I came from the back of the pack to the front.
And then we approached Judy as a lady racer.
Everyone's really welcoming and supportive, so yeah, it's really good.
I think it's worked really well, and they work together really well, and obviously the bigger team look after them, so we give them tests and exams and give them grades afterwards.
Yeah, I've learnt a lot of stuff on tyre preparation and a lot of stuff to do with Novex.
During the week and testing, we have a group email, so they're fully up to date with what the main team are doing. So they know tyre prep, car setup. So when they arrive at the track, even if they haven't been able to practice, they've got a base start of what we're running, and they can go from there. We don't have to use our setup because drivers have different preference, but it takes away a lot of the initial learning curve you have when you're young, making stupid mistakes and big mistakes, which everybody does. If we can take that away, I think the improvement will be way quicker than somebody just pitting on their own.
I've moved up 2 finals from last year at National Series, and it helped me a lot indoors where I were making regular A finals at Ardent, so I'm really happy.
By the end of the year, if they've moved a final up or 2 finals, then that's good for everybody.
Well, if all goes to plan, we'll no doubt be seeing an academy graduate joining this lot in the 10.5 A final. Let's get back to Nick to find out who's on pole.
David Hall, congratulations on the pole in 10.5. You must like these variable conditions.
Yeah, it's been a difficult weekend, bit of luck with the weather, managed to keep it clean and keep it pointing the right way.
And David Hall is our third pole position man in 3 rounds, showing just how competitive this championship is. From Darren Lee Price, Zach Smith, Ayrton Anderson, who won the first round at West London, Andy Murray and the rest, and the winner of the second round, Mark Wallace, unfortunately only made the C final here in these very tricky conditions. Let's see how they go in the 3 legs on the ice-like surface here at Halifax. And off they go. Good start already there for David Hall with the blue Schumacher car. Going wide, actually, was Darren Lee, who qualified second. He's drifted straight out that first corner, and we see the fishtailing immediately. Okay, in second place, I think it's Zach Smith, and there's the rest of the pack muddy themselves around here. It's a lot of issues. The first time they try it, this grip, it's changed every hat. They had 1 round that was almost dry, these 10.5 boys, unlike the modified guys. But as you can see, putting the power down, you're likely to screw out. The back of the grid, and the drivers are having a lot of problems. Back at the front now, and Zach Smith has got over in front from David Hall. So David Hall now is currently trying to track back in front of Zach. Zach loops it there. You put the power down and suddenly just loses. So it's David Hall in the blue and white car, the Schumacher, the man from pole, taking a wide line around that corner. It's hard to see on the screen, but that's quite heavily banked, that corner. Now, again, no, he knows Ayrton Anderson, who won, of course, round 1 in West London, had a disaster at Cotswolds in the teeming rain. Obviously, damp's okay. So it's Zach Smith and Ayrton Anderson. They are good friends. They've raced together for many years in the Midlands, and of course now on the national scene as well. Zach Smith with the orange and the white and the black car. It's associated behind him. The nice day-glow orange car of Ayrton Anderson. Ayrton is with the hot bodies. He's already seen Andy Moore do particularly well with that car. And will it show the same handling characteristics? He seems to have a little bit more front end. Zach, though, is doing some great driving by both drivers. Certainly, Zach's not got the speed, but he's got the ability to place the car, which makes it very hard for Ayrton to get by. And that was a 6.5 dozen there. Ayrton just touched the side, came off worse, but he's managed to catch up really quickly now. Both of them putting the speed down nicely, especially from hot bodies, coming up the inside. But again, he turned in, had the initial corner, and he just drifted wide, even up the hill, which is that banking. Ayrton, though, driving superbly, and that's 6.5 dozen yards. That really is, because the power went down. Fishtailing there from Zach, and as Ayrton came through, he couldn't really avoid him. And then he goes wide. So he's just lost it immediately and got it back again, and it's looping around. And Ayrton's put down too much power. So these boys are balletically spinning from left to right. But in the meantime, David Hall has cruised on in a completely majestic manner out front to take the win. But the last lap now, and Ayrton's got past on the very last lap. Zach's looped it after holding him back for 4 minutes. On the last corner, he just touches the curb. He spins out, he loses it. Ayrton nips through. In fact, so I think did Chris Slater as well. So, well, there we are. So it was David Hall from Ayrton Anderson, and Chris Slater got third, and poor old Zach Smith had to deliver fourth. So David Hall knows that winning this second leg will win him the meeting and his first national win, I believe. But off they go. Good start again from David. Oh, difficult start there from fourth place when we look there, but Darren Lee's made a better one from Zach Smith. So Darren, who had a nasty start, just drifted off in the first. And again, they're having problems at first corner. The thing is that whilst the track looks the same, it's actually much wetter for this second leg. There's rain coming down. We have mizzle, we have rain, and the cars going through. It's David from Darren, from Zach. We can see Ayrton there catching up in the interim. And then we look at the power down goes. Darren Lee now leading it out. Following up there, Zach there, the green car, and then Ayrton there picks up his place. There's been not really been a problem on that one. We're looking at, Darren there clipping the cars as they go through. So it's Darren now from Zach, and then suicidal move, but Ayrton gets through and avoids it. And he's now coming up now. He looks like he's got hurt. We've got Ayrton and Zach again. I'm not sure it'll be exciting as last time. And Darren just ahead of them. Ayrton this time always a little bit more forceful there. Comes down the inside, and Darren's looped it. So Ayrton got 2 places in about 5 yards. So running through, but a long way as David Hall. But we're back again with Ayrton versus Zach. But I think once he gets a bit of fresh air, Ayrton will be able to move forward. Very sometimes lines. They search for grip. Sometimes it looks like you're going really wide, but you get such a benefit coming back off the corner. They're going much wider to make sense in the dry. Actually proves to be the fastest methodology. Moving on later in the race, and Ayrton has managed to make up what was a 4 or 5 second gap to David. David needs to win, and if he wins, then he's going to win the overall. But Ayrton needs to get a win. If he gets a win, he'll take that to the third leg. Anyway, Ayrton is quicker, but again, he's a very gentlemanly driver. I'm sure he won't barge his way through. There goes David. David got the classic error. He came in, he wasn't lined up, put the power on, and he spun it. And this is going to hand the victory to Ayrton Anderson. Ayrton, let's look at it again. He was just drifting and just a tiny amount too much power, and the cars looped, and that let Ayrton through for the win. He comes now down to take the victory. There's a lapped car behind him. Ayrton Anderson takes leg 2, or take us to a third leg decider. David Hall second, so one of those two is like to win. So David starting from pole, Ayrton from 5th on the grid, but of course the grid positions aren't quite so important in these conditions because there's more chances of getting through. But you've got to say it's advantage to David as he leads away from Darren, and then we have Ayrton in 4th, and we have to see how quickly he can get through. He has been particularly fast. In fact, going around that first car, I think he nearly picked up 3rd straight away, and he's very, very great. And he has picked up 3rd. So it is David from Darren, from Ayrton, and they battle their way down the straight. And again, it's many different lines. These guys, it's superb driving we've seen from all the races in all the rounds, because you're just basically effectively running on ice. In these damp conditions, the cars have virtually no grip, as David proves that by sliding out and giving temporarily the lead to Ayrton, but coming back on the inside again. Sometimes, just being lined up correctly, we have to put that power down. So it's David from Ayrton, and they're falling down different lines again. Oh, so close. Ayrton Anderson, of course, named after the famous 90s sports star, the Manchester United and Arsenal fullback Viv Anderson. No, not really, of course. Named after the fantastic Brazilian racing driver who is also a master in the damp conditions. And Ayrton really is putting on a masterclass of how to drive, because he could, at any moment, have tagged David, but he's driving so within himself to make sure he makes a clean pass. David as well is driving quite well. Ooh, a little bit of a love tap, but that was more again because it's very hard when you put the power down. The cars won't go straight, they'll move in the angle out. It's keeping them straight. It's a drifting manoeuvre. It's trying to almost flow. You can see them making wide arcs, the normal tight turn, these massive slip angles you can generate in the dry with these touring cars. It's not possible here, and we see lap after lap of balletic excellence from these two cars. It's David from Ayrton trying to get in the inside there, and David again just turning on, but even if he can stall Ayrton through the corner, he can't get the power down, so it's more a case of getting his car where he wants it, so Ayrton can't take the advantage of the fact that he's got better power elsewhere. The Schumacher from the hot boys, these guys have been the absolute class of 10.5 for the 3 finals, 1 win each so far. It's winner takes all here. David just drifting wide, and and right at the end there he just touched, I think, the curb. He did in his recovery just tap at Ayrton, but it looks like that could be the final moment. Look at David. Oh yeah, he just dropped one wheel, no problem in the dry, hooked the car around, tapped Ayrton as he get going again, but that's given the victory to Ayrton Anderson, his 2nd win of the National Series West End victory. Great driving, and he was probably the fastest car here and also the fairest. But you have to feel sorry for David Hall, who, but a couple of minor mistakes, would have been the winner. But those are the minor mistakes that make him a winner and a loser. And the winner is Ed Nansen, his second victory with the Hot Bodies car of the season. David Hall with the Schumacher in second. Chris Slater third overall, then Zach Smith, then Lee Price. And the rest are in front of you. But let's now hear from our very happy double national winner.
In the second one, Zach Smith was making it a bit tricky. In the third one, David Hall he wanted first place, I wanted first place, and I got it in the end.
So the question has to be, qualified fifth, but you managed to have the fastest car there. What was different between qualifying and the race?
In qualifying, it was wet and it was dry, so we didn't really know what to go out on. In one run I went out on slicks and it wasn't the best option in the wet.
Well, that's all from Halifax after a miserable day with the weather, but a fantastic day with the racing. It separated the men from the boys, a great day of Hot Bodies, 2 wins, but now we're on to Aldershot, where all bets are off in that tight, twisty and very technical circuit. See you in a couple of weeks.